All righty. Well, hello, everyone. I can't see anything on here, so I hope that you're here. I love to see folks when I'm presenting, but I hope that you're here and you can see me. Maybe just give me a thumbs up in the chat or say, hey, Kim Lane Clark. If you are actually here, I see some folks in the waiting room and so forth. But okay, Nancy, okay, I see a real person. Well, let's see, a hand maybe that you're there. So we'll go ahead and give folks about another minute to hop on, and then we'll get started. Thank you so much for joining. I am Kimberly Lane Clark. I'm driving like 3 screens at the moment. So just know that I am paying attention to you. I am just driving 3 screens to make sure that I have everything together for you all today. I don't know exactly where you all are in the world, but I am currently on West Coast time zone and I'm usually Central time. So this time zone is kind of kicking my butt in terms of 2 hours behind. And I'm looking at my other devices and seeing that it's past the time that I'm usually doing things. But anyway, maybe about 30 more seconds and we'll get started while everyone is on. Um, I am Kimberly Lane Clark, and so I am the educator advocacy lead for Google for Education. So previously, I was a 16-year educator, and I just came to Google about 3 years ago. So I am really excited to be here today just to kind of speak with you all. Hopefully, everybody can hear me and you can see the screen well. If you can't, please definitely raise your hand so that I can assist you. I would love for this to be kind of a two-way engagement conversation as much as we can do online virtually. But let's go ahead and hop in. So, oh, there's Terry. I can see somebody. So, hey, Terry. But anywho, let's go ahead, like I stated, and get started. When we think about AI in education, I know a lot of us have questions. I know a lot of us, this is somewhat new to folks, especially when we think about education. But as I previously stated, I've kind of been around in terms of new things and new pieces, especially in education, and I am excited. So for many of educators, when they think of the future of education, right now, AI is really at the top of their thoughts. And so I'm pretty sure you can agree with that. Even if you have not utilized it before, that you're aware that you've utilized it before, but you definitely have. AI is kind of at the top of things right now. And so today, we'll take a kind of a perspective on AI and its potential to transform teaching and learning. And so, what I hope that you get out of this particular presentation is more of a practical advice. But remember that this is meant to be kind of a thought partnership. Also, actions that you can take to kind of have a healthy dose of, imagination as we're together and what we can envision of the future of endless possibilities. Because when we think about AI in the future, there are limitless possibilities that could happen. So, when we think about this piece, and hopefully this will turn with me, obviously, yay. When we think about AI, it's the most profound technology right now that all humans are kind of working on that you've seen, whether or not it's kind of helping doctors think about diseases early on, enabling people access for the information in their own language. AI really opens up a new opportunities. And I know you've heard this before, and it really could significantly improve the billions of lives moving forward. So just kind of in the back of your mind, think about when we move through this presentation, think about AI, but then also think about the future of education and how it plays on. So that's why I stated thinking about and having an imagination as to what it could be, but also this is meant to be a thought leadership process as well in terms of how we're thinking about it. So what we believe is that AI is really going to help our learners. And so I can fully believe in terms of with educators and schools and communities to unlock any potential in ways that we can't even haven't even imagined yet. So I used to tell my students, put your imagination hat on. Let's take off your reality and put your imagination. And we used to have like some little fingers with it, put your imagination hat on. So let's put that on. But from unleashing creativity to offer personal support and supercharging productivity, AI really can advance the quest for understanding in all kinds of powerful and interesting ways. So let's hop into this. And, what exactly is AI? I think a lot of us have, like I say, you might not have utilized it that you know of, but we know that AI is important. I've kind of alluded to that throughout the couple of slides prior to that. And we know that we're just kind of in the beginning. And so you can see that, like, what we define AI is, any computer system taught to mimic natural intelligence. And then we have a couple of other pieces as well: generative AI, machine learning, large language models. And you've probably heard folks say LLMs. Anytime when I look at it, I'm thinking about like M&Ms, but there's a large language models. And so these three terms, you've been hearing about, and, kind of think about the next time you hear these terms, these four terms, exactly, what it actually refers to. For instance, like the large language models, the LLMs, it's machine learning models that can understand and predict and generate human language. Machine learning. So you think about some of the things that you use, like it says machines to learn, where kind of autonomously from data. So thinking about kind of some of the things that you might use at your house, some of that has machine learning inside of it. Now, this next piece is something that you can just kind of jot down. I know this is going to be recorded. You can watch it afterwards. We're not going to actually play this, but this is an actual game that you can go to. It's called Quick Draw with Google.com. And so when we think about the previous slide of talking about what is AI, what is generative AI, large language models, you can actually kind of play this game, and it has somewhat of a simulation of some of those AI features. But definitely check it out if you ever have time to. There's another one, also Teachable Machine. You can train your computer to recognize its own images, sounds, and poses. And just always, if you try any of these, just always make sure that you have in mind what I just basically kind of went over is exactly what is AI. There are a couple of pieces that encompasses within AI, our generative AI, our machine learning, our large language models, and then AI just as a whole. So those are just a couple of resources, but let's hop into. And I don't see any questions in the chat, but please feel free if you have questions. If something is not resonating with you, definitely pose it in the chat, and we'll get to it. I love when people talk back to me, and it's virtual, so I try to make it as human as possible. Now, remember, it's two parts: AI, and then our future of education, and what we believe, what we believe actually will transpire over the years with the possibilities. And so, when it comes to AI at Google, just by extension, at Google for Education, we really kind of follow a multi-layer strategy that includes our principles and our products and programs. And so, when we think about anything, especially in the educational ecosystem, we have to have principles, we have to have our vision, we have to have our mission driven with anything that we are implementing. And so that's why our principles are so important. And it goes hand in hand with our products and our programs. And so, like you see on the actual chart here, where it basically says it feeds into our approach to AI in education. So all of these go hand in hand. So let's kind of start with our principles. So, in 2018, we were really kind of one of the first companies to publish a set of AI principles. And so, learning from the experience of the internet with all the benefits and challenges, and we really tried to build a kind of a smart checks and balances. And I'm pretty sure you've probably seen, I've seen over the maybe this last 6 months, a lot of states and school districts are coming out with their own kind of principles and what they see in regards to what AI would look like in their organizations. And so we really try to build smart checks and balances into our products and designs from a social benefit, also from the ground up. So our first AI principle, that AI should be socially beneficial, just that plain and simple. It captures a critical balance at stake. And so it really kind of the overall benefits should be sustainably exceed the foreseeable risk and downsides, because we know that any technology has downsides, and a couple of other ones you can see for yourself in terms of what our principles in terms of like unfair bias. And so we hear that a lot, and what does that actually mean? So our approach is, one of the balance where we have to be bold, but we also have to be responsible. So in terms of like privacy design principles and our high standards of scientific excellence, just with those, just kind of think in mind, when we think about AI, there's always has to be kind of our stance or your stance as to what we have. And so those are our principles. Now, let's kind of hop in terms of with Google for Education. At Google for Education, we, apply these AI principles to our work every day. And so when anything we're developing, anything of our educational products, we have obviously our users in mind, which are our millions of students all around the world. And so these are the questions we ask when applying these principles to our education tools. So how would this benefit educators and students? And so, I just said that, because those who are using our products, is what we're doing appropriate for education? Is it responsible? Is it safe? Is it secure? Does it provide leaders visibility, insights, and control? And that's most important as well. And so it's also important to remember that AI is not new. It's been helping out our tools in terms of search, YouTube, Gmail, and that's just to name a few. So, like I said it before earlier, you might not be aware that you've been using AI, but if you've used Gmail, if you use YouTube, if you use search, those particular capabilities of AI have been embedded. And so that's why in 2018, we created those principles. If you see kind of in that little box on the left-hand side at the bottom, it says AI.Google. You can definitely check out a more comprehensive plan as to how we're applying our AI principles to the work in EDU. You can definitely go in and look at that, take some of those questions that you have kind of back to your schools and your organizations as well when you're thinking about building and bringing AI into the classroom. So, AI feels really revolutionary. I remember like last year, and so it started being a really hot topic. But I remember studying AI at ISTE, which is really a great one of our partners. And so they had a really great kind of course that came out. It's a long time ago. And I'm saying a long time ago, like kids say, but it was really like maybe like 6 years ago. And so I remember thinking like, wow, like AI has been around so long. And we started like kind of creating these little chat bots and things like that. But although it feels revolutionary now, it's also integrated into the tools that we use on a day-to-day basis. So I spoke about this earlier, who uses Gmail? How many people, that are in our virtual room that uses Gmail on a day-to-day basis? I live and breathe by my calendar and my Gmail. And so, that spam filter that we're thinking about, it's powered by AI, and it allows us to block more than 99.9% of spam and phishing attempts and malware. Some of our other Google tools, like searching YouTube, have that AI to improve that user experience, to do much more. Now, that's kind of, a nutshell of kind of thinking about AI just in general, and kind of a background or history as to how we go about and create our products. But, I really want to talk about our programs as well, and kind of thinking about the future of education. And so, a big component of being thoughtful with any new technology that we build is really our commitment to partnering with schools and educators along the way. And so we've always said, we just don't build for educators, we build with them. And that is 100% true. Remember, I was actually in the classroom. I was a director for the latter part of my career as director of technology. But I am a part of a Google for education certified educator group called the Champions. And so before I came to Google, I remember, actually reaching out and being a part of some of those pilots with some of the researchers that were at Google. They really wanted to know how, to build the products better. So it actually really does happen. And so when you hear we just don't build for educators, we build with them, that is true. And so kind of so through our pilot programs that I was just kind of speaking of, we really work with millions of teachers and students around the world to test and provide feedback. And so on a lot of our latest products. And so I remember kind of embarking on Chromebooks years ago. I'll say about maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. And so I remember, providing feedback, and they were listening. And so when we think about like how do you listen to teachers and understand how to address the challenges, we can really be thoughtful about how we implement them. And so we also roll out, when we think about features and pieces that you try out that are new, it's been numerous amounts of testing that has happened in the background. And so there is actually a track that you can, if you want to test out some of these pieces, and I'll post it in the chat, or I'll give it to Ryan at the end. But it's goo.gl. I'll post it in the chat, but I'm scared if I click on something, I'll mess up my screen. But it's goo.gl slash or forward slash edu pilot program AI. So edu pilot program AI. And so almost at the end, I'll put it in the chat, because I know you're like, okay, ma'am, you're going too fast. But I'll put it in the chat where you actually can get it on here. All right. So one other piece that I kind of wanted to check in, but I wanted to check in with folks quickly. How's everybody doing? Any questions? Any questions? And I know you might not have any right now, but I just wanted to make sure no one does. I'm looking in the chat to make sure. Okay, not yet. Okay, cool. No worries. All right, so let's move right along. So, when we think about kind of the key points of and some of the questions that we have. And so I know you see that this is kind of these pieces are kind of our significant kind of questions and concerns that we have, like the content and safety. And when we think about plagiarism and informational accuracy and privacy and bias, it's with any technology, there are a lot of unknowns. And so AI is no different at all. And so we're really aware of the significant questions and concerns that folks have, and keeping them in mind when we're developing and testing our products. And so using those principles that I named early on to guide how we build and what we do. Now, remember, this is kind of about our thought leader partnership with amongst educators, and so kind of the future of education. And so one thing that, we believe when it comes to AI is that it certainly applies to the educational setting, 100%. But it's important to kind of keep the humans in the loop. And so, AI, there is a thought partner, but it's not intended in any way to take away the educator's agency. And so, because the educator's agency is 100% important. I was an educator before I can even think about when, how kindergarten and first grade, you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always wanted to be an educator. And so the educator agency is extremely important. And so our goal is to help AI be an enabler and a thought partner. And so just to help our educators kind of think about how their students realize their fullest potential along with technology. So, educators will and continue to be the heart and soul of the educational experience, no doubt. So, when you hear, because I'm pretty sure you've heard, AI will take away the students, or I'm sorry, not the students, take away the educators and how you set up your classroom. It will not. Educator advocacy will always be there, and you will always have the voice, as you should. So also one thing that we also put in mind when we think about the future of education and AI is elevating the educator, making learning personal for students, and then supercharging the leader productivity. And so when we think about that, how actually can AI, and this is a statement that, or a question that you can always ask yourself, how might we elevate any educators around the world to make learning more personal? We hear about it all the time. I used to be the director of blended learning, and so my goal was to make learning more personal, because we know that students don't learn kind of all together at the same rate. We know that everyone is different, and so, but we also want to supercharge you as well, and we believe AI can do that. So let's kind of think about some ways that AI can elevate the educators in terms of helping them within some of the tools that they have to use on a day-to-day basis just for themselves. So, kind of as technology transformed the educational landscape, the role of educators continue to evolve. I feel that, in terms of the world of education, how it's evolving, we are the choreographers of learning. So, although, we still provide, access to the information that you're looking for, we really know that how you ensure the students, how you ensure how learning takes place, you have the ability to be able to construct their knowledge from all the information that's out there, from all the information that you're gathering from different places and resources. At the same time, educators are expected to work on expanded roles. When we think about how things are happening from the teacher shortage, when we're thinking about how much time teachers do not have, it is important to think about how can AI leverage some of those things. And remember, this is not meant to take away any of the educator, but how can you supercharge the educator? How can you assist them in being able to elevate themselves first? And so, if you see here, it's kind of a piece in terms of like 69 million new teachers will be required by 2030. And so that's not too far along from here. I remember, teaching about technology like around like 1999, early 2000s. And I remember this video about what the world would be in 2020, what the world would be like in 2020. And so I remember these driving cars, and when you wake up in the morning, your blinds automatically come up because the sun has hit your windows and your car starts automatically. Some of those things have happened. We have automation in our houses. I haven't seen a flying car, but y'all let me know if you see one. Probably get out the way, but just let me know if you see one of those. But I always try to find this video, and I can't find it because I look back at 2020 and what happened in 2020. And so flying cars definitely, but we're definitely excelling in great ways. And so when we think about the idea of elevating the educator, it's not new. All of these things that I'm speaking about today are not just new, but what's new is how we can allow AI to achieve the speed and the scale that's never been possible before. And so It's extremely important in time in terms of how teachers can save time, because time is extremely important, I think, for anyone. And so, how educators are able to work, being able to expand their role, schools, and thinking about the teacher shortage. And so, we really believe that AI can help our educators have to get that more time back. So, what we've done, and I'm not sure if you all have heard of our research that we've actually gathered. And so last year we interviewed 90 educators in 24 countries. And so to ask them kind of about the trends that are driving the future of education. And so I'll speak to some of these as well in terms of about the role of technology and in addressing these trends and advancing in the future. We've really had great ambitions over the years, in education space for a long time. And I really think that now we have the technology that is powerful enough to really bring these ambitions to life. And so when we think of those things, there are a couple of ways that are available now that you can embed into your classroom day-to-day routine as a leader. And so Gemini is an enterprise, which is a piece where you think about help me write. And so, where it works kind of behind the scenes, kind of refining your existing, just think about if you had an email that you had to send out to an entire fifth grade class of parents, and you really didn't have time to write all of those examples that you needed to state about a program that was up and coming that all the parents needed to go to. And so I'm just kind of imagining. And so, help you write something that can be embedded in your Gmail or in a Google Doc, where it will basically refine any existing work that you have and kind of help you get started as well. It won't write it for you. You have to kind of start it off. However, it is a very powerful tool to help you write. And remember, we're thinking about how can we supercharge the educators? How can we have educators to save time? And so, also helps you visualize what Gemini can do. And so it can easily create images, for presentations and meetings, like with a simple prompt. If you want them to say, hey, can you create, let's say, a bear and a tiger together eating granola bars? Maybe it will do that. You can put that in for it to help you visualize what you're looking for. Also help you organize. When we think about how to analyze and act on data, we hear data all the time in education. We know that we have to use data to be able to make any type of choices that are impacting our students, whether it is in our central office or whether it is in a teacher's classroom. Data is extremely important. And so also helping you to connect when we think about some of our video calls that we use, AI is empowered into there as well. A couple of other pieces that are directly embedded into the educator's classroom. Interactive questions for YouTube videos. I think these are really cool. You've probably seen some other tools that are similar to this. This can be embedded directly into Google Classroom, and so it will help you deliver engaging video lessons. But it's also where if you have all of these videos that you've created, when we think about the pandemic and some of the screencasts that some teachers had to actually create, you can upload those to YouTube, and what will happen is that it will automatically suggest questions that will guide deeper learning. And so you see the GIF that's there that's kind of moving around. It is a GIF. It's not a GIF. It is a GIF. If you see that GIF moving around there, it kind of demonstrates how to photosynthesis, and it's finding that information. And you can basically choose a video. Once you choose that particular video, then you're able to add questions in. And that's where, when we think about the AI behind it, it actually will generate some questions for you. Obviously, you're the educator. You might not want those questions. It might not be beneficial to what you're teaching your students, but it gives you a head start. And so it kind of gives you more of a way to easily create engaging videos kind of quickly on demand. And so those when you choose those videos, and it has the AI based video captions that are auto generated in there as well. So, also just security. Security is important. I know sometimes educators really don't think about securities because you have a team that's thinking about that already. You have your tech team that's thinking about that. But just know that when we think about anything that you're using, AI power detection is it's really backed, and it blocks over 99.9% of our spam and phishing attempts that you never see. And so like it states, with features like our verified boots to block threats. And to this day, there have been no reported ransomware attacks on any Chrome OS device ever. So just know that your information is safe. It is there. It is safe from what you are utilizing. So this is another resource that you can grab that will assist you when we're thinking about what we're doing. And remember, this piece was just kind of thinking about how we are able to elevate the educator, supercharging the educator, elevating the educators as to what they're doing. So you can jot this down. I'll try to put it in the chat once we stop, when we get ready to take questions. But these are some resources for educators that you can utilize and read up on. So let's kind of go into our next piece. Remember, we were thinking about the future of education and these 90 experts in 24 countries that we asked recently, and we had this 3-part report on. But these are the trends that came up the most. And so these are the ones that I've kind of chosen for us to chat about today. So making learning personal for students. And so when we think about that, there's so many different ways that I think we have an idea of how we're able to make learning personal for students. And so the shift towards learning more personal is really something that it's a shift in the mindset of an educator as well, because sometimes it's hard to do that, especially if you have 25, 26, 27 students in your class, 30 students, sometimes 34 students in your class. And so it's really hard to try to see how I'm going to make individualized, personalized learning for everyone. And so this is not new. Like I said, I was a director of blended learning for decades. Educators really have wrestled with the question of, what are some tools that we can really make learning personal. And so, what are new are some tools that, we have that kind of make this a reality. And so with AI, we can now imagine, remember our imagination hat, a future where truly personal and even personalized learning is possible. And so not only with this for individual support, but personalizing learning experiences. It really has the opportunity kind of to close some of those gaps, those equity gaps that we all hear of, and just in education, by really providing kind of the learners more an appropriate support method that is tiered towards their learning. And so kind of regardless of wherever they are, however they're learning, AI has the power to do that. So you want to use it to your best ability. So what we'll do, I'll kind of jump into some of the products that we have that can potentially provide some of that personalized learning that I spoke about. So I spoke about YouTube activities. That is something that you can create for your students, but this is also something. So practice sets. So practice sets is where teachers can add questions to their practice sets. And so they'll see a learning skill that will appear. And so the learning skill is basically suggested through AI. So let's just think about when I say a practice set, you're creating your activity. So let's just say if you're teaching students about the sun, you're creating a question, what is the sun? And so what will happen is a skill will appear where you can actually have the help of AI, basically kind of map out your question or some skills to help your students learn more about the sun, especially if they get the answer incorrectly. So like solving equations with decimals and writing thesis statements. A teacher can select a skill that is powered by AI. And so it will kind of give the students helpful hints and resources that they need, but you also can kind of put your own hints in there as well. And so just know that that is coming, where you can add your own hints that will assist the students if they run into an issue. And so when I say run into an issue, you will create the activity, you will create the practice set, and then the students will take that particular assignment. Once they do that, if they get an answer incorrectly, it will auto generate hints to say, you said the sun is not hot. Well, let's see about that. And so it will give videos, and it will appear on the side to provide them hints saying, let's think about that. When you're in Texas in July, it is hot. It's coming from the sun. So hopefully y'all like my jokes. They might be just really bad dad jokes. So just let y'all know. All right. So I will move forward, but this is just a kind of a glimpse. I know it's kind of hard to see those gifts that are there, but you can definitely kind of play around with it if you have the ability to. But just know kind of those mathematical calculators are there, and that's something that math teachers really wanted to get access to. And so this is something that you can individualize for students. And so we're trying to make sure that we make it easier for educators, but also orchestrate that learning piece for the students as well. And so this is within Google Classroom, but it really kind of makes learning kind of more in the forefront, because it's providing that immediate real-time feedback and support that if students are stuck on a problem and teachers are kind of off in another center helping students in another area in the classroom, it kind of gives that piece where you're getting that kind of personal tutor and those hints. But remember, it doesn't take away the teacher, because the teacher would have to ultimately come back and kind of help you revisit that particular thing that you've gotten wrong. But you'll be able to see those insights. Like it says here, with auto grading and insights, it provides kind of, the teachers can see immediately where their class has performed as a whole entire level. And then they also can see immediately the individual performance as well, and where students might need support. And so it really doesn't take a long time to create these assessments either. I've tried them several times, and I think they're pretty cool. All right. So more accessibility. We know that accessibility is extremely important, and so we know much of the web's content, is kind of sometimes inaccessible for folks that have difficulty reading, and so. There was a fact that said, there are more than 360 billion PDFs that are inaccessible for people who are blind or have a low vision and rely on screen readers. And so, over the last, I guess, 30 years, there's been a really major push for web developers and content creation tools to really have that accessibility piece to their products. On one of our Chrome browsers, starting in M116. And so when I say M116, that is like the milestone of the Chrome browser. So there's like a version. So starting at M116, the Chrome browser will support optical character recognition. So OCR, it's a machine learning model that can convert images to text. And so this way, PDFs can be broken into segments, and with any images that don't have like that alt text that should be there, we'll have the screen reader automatically convert the image to text and have it to be read out loud. And so that's a really significant game changer when we're thinking about making learning accessible for all. And so, this really kind of fills the gap in terms of accessibility for low vision and blind users across the world. And so it's only available on any Chrome OS device. And so remember, when I say M116, it's the milestone, or rather the version of the Chrome browser that you have. So also you can customize how you read content. So there's a side panel. It is coming in M115 or greater. So if you have 116 version, then you'll be able to have access to this as well. And so it's a side panel, and it puts an article or a website in a reading mode. And so students and teachers, they can actually change the colors of it. It improves the comprehension and kind of makes the web copy accessible, because you can bold the text. You can make some of the text size bigger. You can make it spacing. You can put the background colors on there, whatever is needed to assist you. And AI is used to kind of extract that core piece, that what you're looking at, to increase the reader's focus. So AI is behind this as well. And also where the text to speech feature, which is extremely important. So just try it out if you've never seen it. You've probably seen it on in your browser in the top right-hand corner, but wasn't sure what it was. All right, so I'm going to move it right along because I want to save time for questions. But live caption also on Chrome, it automatically generates real-time captions. Students can use live captions across the Chrome browser to be displayed in real time. And so this makes audio accessible for learners, especially for learners that are deaf or hard of hearing. It really takes some of the video sites and podcasts and radio content and personal video libraries, Google Photos and embedded video players, whatever the case may be. You can actually embed that live caption on Chrome to automatically generate real-time captions for any type of media that is available. And so it also works on any Android. One other piece that I really love that's on the Chromebook itself is screencast. This is something that I wish that I had when I was in the school district during the pandemic, because I remember creating so many different screencasts to help educators get on different video platforms and help their teachers out and students out. And so the Screencast app enables educators, students even as well, to record and trim and share. So when we think about a screencast, so when you're thinking about something that you're recording, but the cool thing about this is that, for instance, right now that I'm recording, it will transcribe whatever you are saying. And when you send it out to the students will be able to translate the transcription. So it's automatically built into the Screencast app. When you send out that screencast to them, if you've had something that you wanted to basically have them to go over after class or even before class, if they are not, if English is not their first language, and they need assistance, they can use that translate feature to transcribe any of the words that that happened on the screencast. And so this is available on any Chromebook. And so it really makes learning more inclusive. And when we think about in and outside of the classroom, they have a web playback feature that you can view it on any device as well. So think about students learning at their own pace. This is a great way of being able to do that. I'm going to skip around actually, because I'm going to make sure we have time for questions. The last piece is just something called Read Along. I really love Read Along. Read Along, there's a little girl, you'll see her on this little picture. His name is Daya. And so it helps the students read. So it's just reading along with the students. And so many of you all are probably familiar with Read Along. I think it came out in 2020. And so there was an app that launched. And so you can actually access it on any browser, readalong.google.com. And so, but it uses that speech-based reading tutor to help personalize assistance for students. But you can also it's also now embedded into Classroom, depending on what version of Google Classroom you have. And teachers can see the insights and analytics behind how students are doing, how students are reading along, what students are, how they're reading, how fast they are, what pace they are, how many words that they've missed. They get that real-time data feedback from the analytics tool that is embedded within Read Along. So I really like Read Along. All right. But just know it, like it says, it's an additional service. It is integrated into Google Classroom, but additional services mean you need to make sure that you take a look at that in terms of what the services mean for your organization. All right. So it's 2:59 where I am, and I really want to stop and make sure that there were no questions that needed to be asked. and then I'll come to kind of what's next. So I'll stop right here. Any questions, you can put them in the chat and I will answer them. If not, I'll keep on going. I know someone said, I'm struggling to imagine how AI becomes a personal tutor without too much teacher intervention. It would have to be not diagnostic and subsequent lessons to make it more personalized. Do we imagine that this is coming? It's a great question. When you think about a personal tutor, I think some of us, I know I do. I think about like a tutor, like a physical tutor that would be right beside me, assisting me, and helping me. And maybe AI will be able to have that as well. But when we think about, I guess when we say personal tutor, it can particularly kind of add those hints and add those series and questions that are there. So when we think about personal tutor, we kind of have to kind of imagine what it could look like. But to answer kind of, do we imagine that it's coming? Absolutely. Any other questions? I see 60 messages, but none of the ones. Okay. All right. So last but not least, remember I kind of talked about supercharging productivity and kind of helping leaders lead. And so this is important because a leader is 100% the person that is driving and pushing along with their fellow staff members. And we know that educational leaders, what they look at holistically in terms of what AI can provide. There's also kind of that back-ending burning question in terms of what is it going to look like? Is it going to boost creativity? Is it going to boost productivity? And so when we think about some of our tools, absolutely it will. So a couple of ways that, as a leader, you can get started with AI. Allow it to gather, your data resources. We know data is available. We might have it available, but being able to review it with the community or having it to create, tables and charts right off the bat. And so we use something called BigQuery export. And so it is something that you can take advantage of to take those big data sets and put them in models where folks can understand it. A couple of other pieces, just one thing that I want to point out is reviewing when we think about ethics policies around your data and usage. This is something that is important that you work on initially in the beginning when you're thinking about getting started with AI. This will really help ensure that you're working with data appropriate and avoiding any contributing further biases that might happen. And so, once you have kind of those policies in place, those principles in place, and finding out other areas in your systems that you need to review, you need to know what your data is doing. You need to know, how it's working in order to be able to complete this step. So this is a great way of doing that. And then just kind of identify a platform. Think about what type of platform you're going to use to be able to have development and ensure that safety and how you're able to scale it is effective and secure as well. So I'm going to just kind of skip down to when we think about the future of AI, kind of what's next. It says, imagine a world where AI could. And so there are so many opportunities and applications that have not even been imagined yet. And so that's where very concrete ways of AI is being used, but really to point us to kind of a broad range of kind of future uses. And these are a couple of things: improve knowledge and learning, deepening one's understanding of the world, boost creativity and productivity, enable innovation in systems, being able to serve as a teacher's assistant to educators. We've heard this before. I just saw a couple of people dialogue in terms of what a personal tutor means, and it all, to me, what I look at it is just being able to make learning personal in the classroom and at home. And so also create intelligent assessments. I think assessments are important, but we also need to make sure that it's putting the students' needs first and putting them in place first. And so these intelligent assessments where we can develop rubrics and create other types of assessment, but it always has the student's mind and always the first place in hand. So, excuse me. This basically before we'll go on. But before we end today, this is AI is really one of the largest technological shifts, of our lifetimes that we'll see. And so it's going to take time to redefine how much we work, how much what we do across any organization. But it's important that we work together as thought partners to understand how to bring this educational this technology to the forefront of education and seeing when it's needed and it's not needed. And so it's so much potential that I see, and I know that I'm pretty sure that you've imagined today as to what could happen. And so I think our next steps is for you to kind of define what makes sense in your organizations and just kind of study and read up on it and see what makes sense for you. And that is it for today.